I've been thinking a lot about hope these days, probably because a lot of the time conditions don't seem to warrant it. It looks like the COVID-19 pandemic will linger for months, perhaps through most of 2021. Last week, the stark beauty of a bright red sun at dawn told us just how much smoke from forest fires was choking the air in the northwest and then traveling all the way here on the jet stream. Way too many hypothetical election scenarios, along with increasing vitriol in the campaigns, keep me from feeling hopeful about what November 3rd will bring. And when I think about our current struggles with the racism that has infected our country and therefore us for centuries, I wrestle not only with what I should or can do, but what needs to happen to really make a difference. These days, I am not feeling hopeful. And so I was refreshed in my thinking by a recent column by E.J. Dionne in the Washington Post. I note here that Dionne will be our forum speaker along with Ray Suarez this coming Sunday at 10. You can check out the details on our website. The title of Dionne's op-ed piece was "A Realist's Optimistic Case for Hope." I want to be realistic and I want to be optimistic, so I eagerly perused the article. Dionne laid out in greater detail what I've outlined above, but then offered alternative possibilities that are not fantasy, but actually reasonably likely given current trends and polls. Dionne suggests we could be on the brink of real positive change in all of these fraught areas, and he urges boldness in seizing the moment and acting in hope. And Dionne makes this distinction: hope is not a feeling. It's a virtue. To me, this says hope is about acting virtuous, not feeling hopeful. As a Christian, I hear this as gospel truth. I believe Jesus taught this. In his teachings about love, he was always talking about actions more than feelings, emphasizing how we treat one another over what we believe or feel. And Jesus lived in a time when there was surely little hope for the oppressed Jewish community in Palestine, not if they were depending on feelings of hope, but acting in hope, acting in ways that moved the world closer to the way it could and should be. Jesus would call this God's kingdom. Acting in hope was Jesus' mission and method. Can acting in hope be our mission and method? Isn't living God's love acting in hope, not holding back out of fear or pessimism? Giving money and time, educating ourselves, practicing safe COVID guidelines, voting, sticking with our faith communities, even though we connect with them mostly on screens. These are all actions we can do, even when things seem gloomy. I invite you to come up with actions you can do that express hope. Often it's hard to act in these positive, hopeful ways if we're not feeling the hope. But if we think of hope as a virtue to be cultivated and acquired through action, even if sometimes that just seems to be faking it until we make it, then just maybe in practicing hope, one distant day we'll feel it too. And so we press on.
Dear ones, I invite you to join me for a series of conversations. Sacred Ground is a film-based dialogue series for us to explore the intersection of faith and race in our nation, our church, our lives, and our hearts. Our baptismal covenant asks, will you seek and serve Christ in all persons, strive for justice, and respect the dignity of every human being? As we seek to live God's love each and every day, even and especially in this time of racial tension, pain, reckoning, and hopefulness, I believe we're called to pay attention to the stories of our faith, the racism of our past and present, and the intentions of our hearts. Sacred Ground provides an opportunity for conversation with fellow sojourners so we can engage in this effort together. It was developed by the Episcopal Church, and it's led by members of Stirring the Waters, St. Columba's Ministry for Racial Justice. While we've hosted the course several times, I've not yet taken it, so I'm going to participate this fall. I hope you'll join me.
Probably one of the most important aspects of it, and the reason I would recommend it, is that it's a safe space to ponder issues that are really pervading our public discourse right now. For me personally, I found that the course finally enabled me to kind of break open my own personal history and see some of it with respect to race in ways that previously had been hidden to me. And in that sense, it was extremely meaningful to me personally.
We had been fairly far through the program by the spring of 2020 when Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd were killed. And I think having done the program, it put me in a much better position to see the perspective of people of color on that sort of incident and the commonality, unfortunately, of that sort of thing, the extent of police brutality in this country.
I was reluctant to sign up for this course because I knew I was going to be the only person of color in the class. That raised questions for me. Would my presence prevent others from feeling comfortable to fully engage and experience the course? Would others feel, since I was the only Black person in the class, that I could give the Black perspective? And how would I feel with reviewing and discussing the issues I thought that were going to be in the course that were going to be too painful for me to see and be involved in the discussion? But in spite of my reservations, I signed up. With this course, you have a unique opportunity to walk back through American history so that you truly understand what brought us today. And I don't mean the history that you had in your textbooks. I mean the history of what actually has happened throughout the establishment of this country.
Not only did I learn a lot of history that had never been taught to me in any of my very good schools that I went to, where I thought the history curriculum was maybe not complete, but comprehensive. Oh no. But we also were instructed to look within ourselves and to learn about ourselves. And we were helped in that direction. We all needed help.
Before the course, I thought racism was really limited to people's thoughts, beliefs, ideas that led to action. And that if we could address those beliefs, if we could change them, we would eradicate racism. And now I think of it as something so much deeper and more institutional. I have a greater understanding of systemic racism, and I think it's something that needs everybody's attention on a daily basis.